Welcome back, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. Generation X might as easily well stand for Generation Extraordinary, especially when it comes to our next guest. In 1994, Jerry Yang was a Stanford grad student with a passion, surfing the internet, untangling the World Wide Web, and listing interesting spots on a homepage. The public's reaction to this passion? By 1998, Jerry and his partner, David Philo, were known around the globe as the men behind Yahoo, a new media company with a market cap in excess of $5.4 billion. Not a bad way to spend a couple of your years in your 20s. Joining us now from San Francisco is the man behind your guide to cyberspace, Jerry Yang, the co-founder of Yahoo. Jerry, welcome. Good to have you.
Hi.
Do you ever step back and think of just the sheer fortune that you've accumulated in this very brief ride? Some say in excess, just for you, of $700 million.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you don't believe is happening to you, and you're in the middle of it, and we don't really think about so much the monetary aspects of it, but more of the how this whole thing that we're involved in, how good luck we had to be involved in the right time, in the right place, but B, how fast we're sort of changing the world in terms of people latching onto the internet phenomenon, and we're just happy to be part of it.
Do you ever feel, though, Jerry, I mean, you're a pretty astute read of things. I mean, do you ever find that it's too fast? That I know you love the internet, and obviously you founded an industry here that has taken off, but do you ever say, look, even I think my stock is overvalued. Even I think this whole industry is, nosebleedy.
It's always one of those things where you look at what you're doing and you let sort of the market judge you how they want to. My personal feeling has always been that the potential of the internet is huge, and how big is it is sort of anybody's guess. The good thing for me is that I don't have to actually place a value on it. I just have to go to work every day and try to make it happen. And clearly people who look at Yahoo as a company but also look at this medium as a whole are placing a lot of value on the potential of it, rather than the sort of near-term value they're going to get from it. So I believe it's a long-term prospect that a lot of people are looking at. And we look at it the same way. We certainly don't look at this thing as being there today. But if you look at 4, 5, 10 years from now, how big the internet is going to be a part of all of our lives, it's arguably fairly large.
Now, before I get to the details of that business, if you don't mind my crass following this money issue here, do you ever feel tempted, though, Jerry, to take some money off the table, convinced that the profits you have are profits on paper, and market fluctuations come and go, and that $700 million could be gone tomorrow?
Yeah, oh, sure. This market is so dynamic and so fast that there's no assurances what we're doing today could be survivable tomorrow. We have competitors coming all the time. And, Neil, one of the things of being founders of a company like this is that you're extremely paranoid. And both David and I are extremely paranoid about what the future can bring. Who knows when the next startup or the next big company can be deadly to Yahoo. And so we live in a world where, we count on good fortune, so we're very proud of what we've done, but we also think that we need to do everything we can to continue to stay on top. So it is a very volatile environment.
Now, I notice you and Netscape have sort of parted ways. That had to be a little odd. I mean, you were a beachhead on Netscape and essentially now a rival, and I guess vice versa. How do you feel about that?
It's one of those things where it does reflect the dynamism in this industry where 2 or 3 years ago they were a very different company, and we arguably were a different business where we were just starting out as a small media business. Over time, because of their competitive landscape, they have adopted a more similar strategy to ours, and in some ways we've outgrown the need to be getting a lot of our traffic from Netscape. So it's natural and predictable in a way, because we've always hoped that we eventually, whether it's Netscape or other people, we would have a strategy where we can self-sustain our own distribution. But it is kind of odd given the history we've had with them, and in some ways, this is a very small industry. Who knows, in the future we might find something different to do together.
Now, I just find the timing a little odd because, obviously Netscape embroiled in this antitrust issue with Microsoft, and if, for example, the government were to succeed and force Microsoft to either carry the Netscape web browser or to at least be more fair or more competitive, as the government claims, that you've left someone who could come out very big from all of this.
Yeah, well, that's clearly a concern for everybody's mind. But I personally, It's one of those things where you don't want to speculate, because I think even with today's market share, Netscape has more than 50% market share out there. So they are already a major player, and you know, the thing hasn't been that we're discounting what they can bring in the future. The real question is, are they bringing the value, even accounting in the fact that they might become part of the distribution on the operating system. But you know, as far as the antitrust issues go, I think it's pretty premature to sort of speculate one way or the other.
Well, do you mind my asking you? I'm sorry, but do you mind my asking you? Do you think Netscape has a gripe, or you're going to take sides, or no?
It's such a more complicated issue. My personal feeling on this whole issue is those who think they know what they're saying probably don't really know all the issues. My feeling, obviously, is that, you know, the consumers ought to have a choice, and they ought to have a choice to be able to pick not only which browsers they use, but also people like websites like ours. You know, we survive on the fact that consumers have a choice. So that's a very valuable principle. But even Microsoft would argue they're doing ways in which they enable people to have the choice.
Well, you got to hope so, right? Because Microsoft eventually wants to do exactly what you're doing. So well, this could be an important litmus test, right?
It is a litmus test, and it is defining a boundary. What I'm also fearful of is if the government's action isn't clear enough to give the computer industry and the high-tech industry in general a way of guidelines, a set of guidelines through the example they're making out of Microsoft. It may slow the industry down, which I think overall is even worse than the alternative, which is having things go the way they are. So, you know, we're all stepping on a very delicate balance here, and clearly everybody's watching with a huge interest.
Do you take a look at now the interest that far-flung companies, even like Zapata, which is you know, not exactly a technical company, wanting to scoop up one of your rivals, that this has opened up a new playing field, that Yahoo itself could become takeover bait, albeit expensive takeover bait?
Yeah, I think it goes back to my earlier comment about this environment being very, very competitive. And what's great about this medium is that you know, I don't own anything that forces people to use Yahoo, and even to the extent that browsers have a lot of dominant control in this space. The browser companies themselves don't really own the customers. It's actually the consumer drives the medium. So, you know, in general, we could have new competitors or creating new level playing fields because the consumers choose to do so, and we live and die by that.
Jerry Yang, thank you very much, the co-founder of Yahoo. We'll have more after this.